And then the external anal sphincter. This is how it looks like on the model. Alright. So again, for the rectal mucosa, you can use 3O or 4O polyglaxin or polydiaxonone sutures. Again, two suturing techniques may be used, simple interrupted or continuous. So here, again, put the first stitch 1 centimeter above the apex. So this one will show a simple interrupted stitch. Forgive us, the model was whipping a bit, no, but this part will just show us the use of the simple interrupted stitch. For monofilament, the recommended number of rows to secure the knot is 4 to 6. So that's for your polydiaxonone. Alright. So that's the anal mucosa. Notice the model giving way, but we need, in our actual patient, we need to be able to get enough tissue from 0.5 to 1 centimeter from the edges. Again, no figures of 8. No figure of 8 stitches. So again, simple interrupted technique and secure those knots. I'll just forward the video a bit. No? So this is just a series of simple interrupted stitches through the anal mucosa. Notice also that the knots are extraluminal, which means that the knots are not within the lumen of the anus. So we tie the suture above. Okay. Alright. So that's just simple interrupted stitches. Alright. Now let's go to the porcine model. How will that look like in the models you have? Okay. Oh, sorry. Allow me to go back. Alright. Okay. When you receive your specimen again, it has an intact perineal body. We'll be asking you to transect the perineal body so you're able to see these structures. So this is the vagina. When you cut through the perineal body, you should be able to expose this layer, that's the anal mucosa. The overlying layer is the internal anal sphincter. The torn ends of the external anal sphincter. Notice that in the porcine specimen, it's going to be smaller than in our actual patient. No? So I guess more delicate handling will be necessary later. So here we'll just show you. This is just identification of the structures: anal mucosa, internal anal sphincters, and external anal sphincters. So again, with a simple interrupted technique for the anal mucosa. Right. Allow me to just run through this again. That's the second one. So again, those are just simple interrupted stitches through the anal mucosa with the knots extraluminal or not within the lumen of the anus. So it's above, tie above. Alright, so that's the simple interrupted stitches through the anal mucosa. Next, it's just going to be, again, another technique of repairing the anal mucosa, just continuous stitches. Again, start by securing the angle 1 centimeter above the apex, and then proceeding in a continuous fashion, like so. So this is also another option. Alright, so just continue with that all the way to the edge, to the end rather. I'll just move this forward a bit, just continuous stitches. Now, on the porcine model, it will look like this. So again, you need, perhaps you need a clamp to clearly delineate your internal anal sphincter and making sure that you don't include that layer in the repair of your anal mucosa. So proceed again as shown here. So continuous stitching over the anal mucosa. Again, after this repair, you need to do a rectal examination so that you can check that the edges are approximated well. Because if they are, you can barely feel any suture through the rectal mucosa. So that's just continuous stitches along the length of the torn anal mucosa. Alright, all the way to the end. Okay. Alright, sorry. Now, so that's for the anal mucosa. Again, simple interrupted or continuous. Let's proceed with repair of the internal anal sphincter this time. So the white fiber sheet overlying the rectal mucosa is the internal anal sphincter. Okay, so we proceed. You can use simple interrupted or horizontal mattress technique as shown in this picture. So for horizontal mattress, these are our entry points. Enter superiorly on the right side end, exit superiorly again on the left side end, then go back. Turn the needle around and go back so that your sutures end up on one side of the patient. And proceed like so. Again, the sutures to be used here are fine, delayed absorbable sutures. So that's your 3O or 4O polyglactin, or your 3O and 4O polydiaxonone. Okay. So that's one horizontal mattress stitch. Then just secure the ends with a knot. Recommended 4 to 6 throws for monofilament. Okay, so that's just going to be another horizontal mattress stitch. It's going to quickly. All right, so it will look like so. The knots end up on one side. So on the four-seam model, you'll see here, sorry, all right, there the knots are on, I apologize. All right, knots are on one side of the um, ends of the internal anal sphincter. On the four-seam model, it will look like this. This is the repaired anal mucosa, and now we're clamping or identifying the internal anal sphincter muscles. Uh, so again, horizontal mattress. You can also opt to do this using the simple interrupted technique, using fine and delayed absorbable suture material. Okay. I hope everyone got that. Horizontal mattress. I'll just move along. Okay, this is the second one. So we just proceed and continue on with these horizontal mattress sutures or simple interrupted sutures until the end of the injury. Okay. Now let's proceed with repairing the external anal sphincters this time. So sometimes we will need to dissect further the external anal sphincter so that we are able to mobilize a long enough, a good enough amount of the external anal sphincters to overlap. Remember, overlapping has to be tension free so that repair or healing can proceed adequately. So, for us to be able to do that, there should be adequate mobilization of these tissues. Again, when you dissect, you should dissect over the fascial sheath because the fascial sheath needs to be included in the repair and not just the muscle itself. So, here in the model, this dissection, you can mobilize 1.5 to 2 centimeters long of the on each end of the external anal sphincter, especially for an overlapping sphincteroplasty. And then you secure them with your Alice clamps so you can clearly identify them later on. All right. Okay. Now, say it's a you wish to do a 3A or a 3 rather you wish to do an end-to-end reapproximation. here we see the secured ends of the torn external anal sphincters. We can proceed with a pair of mattress sutures again. So as was shown in the photo earlier. For this structure, we will use either 2O or 3O monofilament sutures, an example of which is Monomax. So it's the first stitch. Again, this is just like this is horizontal mattress, much like the internal anal sphincter. And then this is just putting in the second one. So this is for end-to-end reapproximation. Notice this is how the layers, sorry, let's look for a better name. If you can notice behind it, the repaired anal mucosa and the internal anal sphincters. So it's like it's inward. So that's when you do your rectal exam, there should be good apposition. You can barely really feel suture material through the anal mucosa. So okay, so I think, and then you just tie the ends. So that's the end-to-end approximation. So all right. Now this is end-to-end reapproximation on the porcine model this time. So in the photo, you can see how it should look like. The first stitch. You'll notice later on that the specimen might not have a good bulk of the external anal sphincters to reapproximate. So we might really need to delicately handle the torn ends of the external anal sphincter so we can put in the sutures. Like see in this model, the external anal sphincters are very, very thin. Okay, so this is something. Alright. I can't seem to move it forward on my end, so let's just wait for it to play. I apologize. Ah, Rennie, sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry. The video ends here. But I don't have the external anal sphincter repair part.
Okay po. At what minute I will be sharing the video po?
Po. That's 22:47. I wonder why it won't play further.
22.
47. So, I'll
Okay po,
stop
ma'am.
sharing my screen and allow you to share yours.
Okay po, ma'am.
I'm sorry about this. It won't play any further than 22:47.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Can you see my screen na po?
Yes,
Okay, so 20.
22:47.
Okay, at this point po. Okay, I'll
Yes.
play.
Let's forward it a bit, running to the end of 22:47. There. So this is where we ended. This is the end of the end-to-end reapproximation technique on our porcine model. Then we tie the ends. So again, end-to-end reapproximation is the better option for a 3A and a 3B pair. And if you opt to do so, you can also use this with a 3C. Clearly, if you want, you may move along a bit so we can proceed with so here. So after tying the ends, this will be how it will look like. It's end-to-end approximation. Okay, now for again, we're going to show you this time overlapping sphincteroplasty. This is just showing the suture material to be used, 2O monofilament. Make sure you've mobilized good enough length of external anal sphincter on each end to allow tension-free repair. I hope the video is coming in clear on your end. There, so this is overlapping sphincteroplasty. Here as you can clearly see from the techniques, we really need very able assists for us to clearly see the tissue and suture the correct parts. So again, in overlapping sphincteroplasty, we start from the left end, the left edge, the left torn edge of the external anal sphincter, and then in a anterior to posterior direction, and then go back the other way, posterior to anterior on the right edge. I rather no, go to the right edge of the torn external anal sphincter, but enter from the top again. So from anterior to posterior. And then go back up. And then through. So when you start suturing, the first suture on the left end of the external anal sphincter must be more lateral, but the corresponding end on the right end of the sphincter should be the more medial end, such that when you tie them down, it overlaps like so. So the more lateral end of the left, patient's left external anal sphincter to the more medial end of the patient's right torn edge of the external anal sphincter. And then proceed this time with suturing the more medial edge, Now it's the second suture will be the more medial. You start off with the more medial edge of the left torn end of the external anal sphincter and overlap it by suturing through the more lateral edge of the right end of the external anal sphincter.
Ang gulo.
The goal is to overlap like so. When you suture top to bottom first, and then when you go to the other end, it's still going to be from the top to the bottom, and then you come out bottom to top, and then cross over to the other side, bottom to top again. The goal is to overlap the two ends. Around 1.5 to 2 centimeters of the two ends of the sphincters need to be overlapped on top of each other, like so. So when you tug on your stitches, it has to look like this. There, so there's the overlap.
Top to bottom, lateral, medial.
We will be able to address this better during the workshop. No? So then we tie the sutures.
Top to bottom.
So you can achieve a successful
Top to
overlap of
bottom,
around 1.5 to
and
2
bottom,
centimeters.
Bottom.
If there should be no tension over the repair. If you also feel that in cases where there will be too much tension, an overlap technique might not be your best choice. You may just need to do your end-to-end reapproximation. Alright. Here we go. Okay, again, this is showing the external anal sphincter repair on the porcine model, which you will do later during our hands-on workshop. So this is mobilizing the torn ends of the external anal sphincter to allow for a successful overlap of around 1.5 to 2 centimeters. Sorry, it's monoplus rather, monoplus 2O. Again, for the left end of the external anal sphincter, you can start more lateral, no? So you enter from the top and then go down. And then on the other torn end of the sphincter, on the right end, you enter from the top again, but on the more medial end. And then you turn your needle around so that you're able to enter this time just adjacent to that exit point there. Also on the medial end of the right, bottom to top this time, and then cross to the left end, patient's left end on the more lateral side, just beside your first entry. There. So that allows for overlap of the more lateral end to the more medial end of the other edge. And then for the second one, start with the more medial end in a top to bottom direction, and then top to bottom again on the more lateral end of the other sphincter. Turn the needle around to go back up.
I see. I see.
And then
Gets ko na.
cross over to the medial edge of the left
Ang isa more
external anal
lateral,
sphincter.
more medial. Ang isa
Like
more
so.
medial
So
to
here we're
lateral.
only showing you two sutures. You can opt to put in three, but here there's just two.
Okay. Now I see.
And then, so it should look like so.
Kaya ang medial, mas muduol siya sa
So
lateral.
here, can you pause for a bit? So this is, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, I get it.
On the photograph, Rani, the diagram with the overlap.
So, sa lateral,
It's a little
Ika-
back.
ibabaw.
Ano?
Dayan, dito ka sa medial, ibabaw.
You're too far back.
Dayan,
Anyway, so the essential point of all of this is you need to be able to put one on top of the other.
dayan ang isa.
All right, there, that
Medial.
photo.
Ana. And balik. Ana.
So
Balik.
when you tie it down, it should look like this. Okay. There. Okay lang, Rene? It's all right. Yeah. So yeah, let's play it from this. And thank you. There. It's the overlap. Again, it's because we're limited by the length of the porcine model, but I'd like to reiterate for our patients, it's an overlap of around 1.5 to 2 centimeters. So that's overlapping sphincteroplasty. Right? So, and then you proceed with the rest of the repair, much like we would our second degree laceration. Thank you, Renee, for your help. That concludes my part of today's workshop. I turn the floor over